making an 100-year-old pink slice, Sunderland's iconic dessert. The pink slice cake is thought to be a taste of home for the people of Sunderland. But where did this sugary treat come from, and why are they only available in the city? In this video, I'll be exploring the pink slice cake's history, and even making a recipe of it from 1923, hopefully replicating my nana's pink slices and rivaling the local bakery, as if. A pink slice consists of jam sandwiched between two slices of shortcrust pastry, before being topped with a layer of pink icing, creating a very simple bake that has been passed down from generation to generation. My nana would use the scraps of shortcrust pastry after making corned beef and tatty and ham and egg pies to create pink slice cakes, making a full meal from the same pastry. Nicknamed pink pastry or pink icing and cake, the pink slice has been around for as long as I can remember, with my favourite shop bought ones being from Muller's, a Swiss bakers in town. They have even given the classic recipe a bit of a twist, bringing in new flavours of lemon and passion fruit into the traditional mackem cake. I have heard, however, that Juliet's on Sea Road do an amazing variation, so I'd love to know where you get your pink slices from. The first mention of the pink slice, or a cake which is actually the most similar to a pink slice, is said to have been in the first Biro cookbook from 1923, a recipe book created to promote the company's self-raising flour invention, whilst also creating cheap and easy to create meals for the northeast of England. I was very lucky to have won the 7th edition of the Biro cookbook from 1928 on eBay, especially with the rich jam cake within the short and sweet section being basically a pink slice, but without the delicious pink icing. We'll be using this recipe today, and I'm so excited to see if it tastes like my nana's pink slices. What we need to make a pink slice is 8 ounces of Biro flour, 2 ounces of sugar, 1 egg, jam or marmalade of choice, 2 ounces of lard, 2 ounces of margarine, and also a half teaspoon of salt. The recipe says, mix flour, sugar and salt, then rub in the lard and margarine lightly and mix it into a stiff paste with the beaten egg. Add a little milk if necessary. Divide it into 2 parts and roll out thinly, both the same size. Cover one in jam, place the other piece on top and nip together. Place on a greased baking sheet and bake in a moderately hot oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. When cool, cut into dainty squares or triangles. The first step was to mix the flour, salt and sugar together, and then rubbing in the lard and the margarine lightly before mixing into a stiff paste with the beaten egg. You want to make sure that the texture before adding the egg is like fine breadcrumbs, with no big pieces of fat still in the mixture. I actually attempted this pastry recipe 3 times and it just wasn't coming out right. I'm definitely not cut out to be a pastry chef. Once the mixture formed nicely, I divided it into 2 parts and gave it a little knead before popping it in the fridge for 10 minutes. The recipe is very basic, as fridges just weren't a thing in England then, but this batch of pastry came out much better than my previous attempts, so I would go for the fridge option too. I rolled out the bottom pastry layer, getting it as thin as possible before popping it in my tin. Feeling accomplished with my one layer of pastry, it was time to cover it in jam. I used a raspberry jam, but you could use any jam or marmalade you fancy. Keep it as close to the edge as you can and just add the tiniest bit, not like my previous attempt where I tipped half a jar of jam in. Once you've got your jam in, it's time to place the other piece on top and nip the edges together. The B-roll recipe says to place your creation onto a greased baking sheet and bake it in a moderately hot oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. Moderately hot could be absolutely anything in the 1920s, so I went for 180°C. Whilst our pink slice is in the oven, let's discover the famous B-roll cookbook and its links to the world's first self-raising flour. Thomas Bell was born into a large family in 1848, with his parents William and Anne Bell owning a grocery shop in Long Horsley. Tragically, his father died when he was only a few years old, leaving his mother to run the family business, which included a bakery to provide for the family. Thomas Bell was very enterprising and experimented with baking powders and other raising agents within flour to try and improve his family's finances, having hit upon a magic formula producing the world's first self-raising flour. Before the invention of self-raising flour, bread and pastry relied on yeast as a raising agent. Self-raising flour revolutionised Victorian baking, allowing cooks to put good bread on the table without a need of fresh supply of yeast. It's thought that Thomas invented the first self-raising flour, but was pipped to the post by Bristol baker Henry Jones, who took out a patent on his flour in 1851. Starting from humble beginnings at the Groat Market in Newcastle, Thomas began manufacturing baking powder and self-raising flour under the name Bell's Royal. It is a common myth that Bell's Royal became B-roll because of the death of King Edward VII in 1910, when it was illegal to use the name Royal. An American company trading under the name of Royal's Baking Powder was too similar to the Bell's Royal name, so in the late 1890s it was rebranded B-roll. It was Thomas's wife's suggestion to use the two first letters of each word to form the new company name. In the early 1920s, the most commonly used type of flour was plain flour, as self-raising flour was much more expensive and was considered a bit of a novelty. To help promote B-roll self-raising flour to the general public, the company staged a series of exhibitions where freshly baked cakes, scones and pastries made with the flour were sold for $1 to visitors. I love that in my cookbook it has an advertisement for the exhibition of 1929 in Newcastle, where young girls as young as 14 excelled in their baking despite having no prior tuition. The delicious baked goods were so popular that people demanded to have copies of the recipes so that they could bake them at home. This simple recipe book has become a bit of a Bible for the older generation in the Northeast, with each recipe having ingredients that most people would have in their store cupboards. Each page would be covered in flour and fingerprints, adding memories to the meals that were prepared from here. As a result, a free recipe book was created to promote how to use this new product in 1923. The 19-page booklet contained recipes to feed hungry families on a very low budget, whilst also educating young women about running a home and feeding a family. It's a bit of a mystery if the pink slice cake originated from this rich jam cake recipe in the B-roll book, but it's likely to have been a cheap way of creating treats when there wasn't anything else around. Leftover pastry from pies with a bit of cheap jam was a way of filling children's tummies. B-roll was now a name to pass through the generations for the best flour alongside even greater recipes that were simple and easy to follow. The recipe book is still sold today and is in its 41st edition with more than 38 million copies being sold. Now that's a lot of cakes and scones. Once my cake has cooled down, it was time to add some iconic Sunderland pink icing to the top, completing this iconic mackem dessert. As you can see, I'm completely over the moon to have something that finally resembles what I know to be a pink slice. So I'll stick to buying them from now on. And now on to the best bit, the taste test. So I did it. I made a 100-year-old pink slice. This is the one I made on my third attempt, and that's I think my first or my second. I've been doing this a lot of hours now. I did it yesterday, I did it today. So finally we'll do a little taste test. I think this one's definitely worked out better this time, but it is very, very thin. As you can see, it is so thin. So probably I would need to double the recipe to sort of get as much next time. Definitely pink slice though. Definitely. This one looks a lot more sort of pink slice wise, but it's just I filled it far too much with jam, covered it in so much icing, and it's just a bit of a mess at the moment. But I would definitely give this recipe a go. Just be a bit more careful, more than me. I don't think I'm that gifted in the way of pastry, but I hope that you like this video, and happy Mackem Day, because it's that International Mackem Day on the 12th of August. So yes, happy Mackem Day and enjoy your pink slices. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, because it really helps my channel, and have a lovely day.